Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome everyone to the critically acclaimed, popular, and famous Sidewalk Talk coming to Netflix soon, very, very soon. Welcome to Sidewalk Talk family. So Sidewalk Talk is an online platform where we have real talk about the streets of Newark, New Jersey. All right, so we look to gain insight, clarify misconceptions, and get a call to action from frontline workers who pretty much know what's going on the ground, right? We need to know what's going on the ground from those who know best. So, first of all, we gain insight by, having nuanced conversations and unpacking truths and having conversations that really aren't often being discussed, right? We look to clarify misconceptions about groups of people who are either like unheard or when they are heard, they're misunderstood based on people making assumptions about their lives. And then third, we get a call to action, right? We like to lift up local organizations throughout this city, Newark, New Jersey. If you are not clear on the revolutionary, unprecedented work of this particular largest city in New Jersey, then I suggest you come and find out what we're doing over here. There are a lot of powerful organizations throughout the city who are doing powerful work. And so we want to be able to lift up the work of those local organizations, but also get a call to action from frontline workers, workers that are on the ground, boots on the ground, doing what they need to do, seeing with our own eyes what needs to happen, and getting a call to action from them, getting our marching orders directly from them. So those are the three things that we try to do on Sidewalk Talk. This is season 2. So we have already done 13 episodes, speaking with a variety of different guests. And so for those of you who may not know me, let me take this opportunity to introduce myself. So I am your host, Aaliyah Berry. So I'm a licensed clinician, 20 years experience working with ages 0 to 60 in a variety of different settings. So I've been in school, after school programs, summer camps, schools, correctional facilities, shelters, group homes, a variety of different settings, working with a variety of different people. I'm a community-based social worker, and so what that means to me is social work is not necessarily within the four walls of an agency or between the hours of 9 to 5. Right? Social work is a lifestyle. And so what that means is I often find myself in baby showers and graduations, unfortunately, also in sentencing hearings and funerals, goal setting on the sidewalk, getting hugs at a red light, which my guest tonight, by the way, can very much relate to what I just described. So I currently work as a full-time consultant with Seeds and Berries, where I do program development, training, and direct clinical services in schools, nonprofits, and the government sector. So to keep in touch with me, you can follow Seeds and Berries on Facebook, on Instagram, Aaliyah Berry on LinkedIn. You can find out more about my services on my website, seedsandberries.com, and then the YouTube channel. So if you have missed this episode live, then you can watch the replay on Seeds and Berries YouTube channel, as well as the first 13 episodes that we have already done on Sidewalk Talk. So definitely go check out the YouTube channel, like and subscribe, and see what other kinds of powerful guests that we've had and had some pretty powerful conversations. All right. So before I get into this topic on tonight, right, that's enough about me. I want to quickly just get into some housekeeping. Okay. So some housekeeping is this: to like, tag, and share for impact. Like, tag, and share for impact. So number one is to like and love and laugh and put all of those kind of reactions while we're having this conversation. Just helps me and my guests to not feel like we're in a room by ourselves, right? So you're able to engage emotionally with the conversation that we are having. And so, be encouraged to like, tag, and like and love and laugh and do all of those reactions throughout the conversation tonight. And then also to tag, right? So if you, after the conversation gets underway and you do feel like you know someone who would enjoy this conversation, who would benefit, who would be inspired by this conversation, then definitely feel free to tag them in the comments, right? And so then it will give them a notification to join us and to come into the room and participate in the conversation. And then the last piece is to share, right? We definitely, my guest and I do feel that we have an important message. Sharing is not for popularity, but sharing is for impact. We would like for our message to get into the hands that we feel need it, right? And so, feel free to share this live stream so that it can go to where it needs to go. And last but certainly not least, feel free to comment. Definitely feel free to comment in the comment section because you all, as our audience, you also have experience, insight, valuable contributions to make to this conversation. And so we definitely welcome that you participate in the comment section. And so you can also ask questions in the comment section if you would like, but do feel free to, continue to engage in the conversation in that way. All right. So like, tag, share for impact, and feel free to join in the comment section. All right. So that's enough about me. That's enough housekeeping. I am so excited. I am so excited to get into this conversation with my very special guest. So if this is your first time watching Sidewalk Talk, I'll give a little bit of insight about how I go about choosing my guests, right? And so basically, I come up with the topic and then I search my mental Rolodex for the frontline worker in my network, right, on these front lines with me who would be an expert in speaking on this topic. It is not the other way around. So I'm not thinking about guests and then matching topics to guests. I am thinking about topics and then bringing in experts to talk about that topic, right? Okay, so earlier in the month, right, the first Sidewalk Talk episode in October, even before that, the end of September, we talked to Thomas Owens, the executive director of Mentor Nork, and we started talking about reintegrating young people back into school and like back into normal, whatever that's going to be, right? And so he's an expert in mentoring, and he's an expert in the language of young people and behaviors and things like that, right? So then there was no other direction to go in October but to go full force deep dive into mentoring, right? And so then the third episode of this season, we spoke to literally No Days Off Ali about mentoring boys and men in the community. And so we did a deep dive into mentoring boys. Well, family, right? It's time to move on, right? It's time to move on. And so this particular episode is specific to, there's going to be some foundational mentoring things that we'll talk about, right? But also, specifically about girls and women. So my guest here today to break down this topic is, I take this guest seat very seriously, family. I take this guest seat very seriously. And so my guest today is definitely an expert on this particular topic. So I have worked with Miss Kiyyannah Brison. Drum roll, drum roll. The crowd goes wild. Miss Kiyyannah Brison, which I call her Bryson. She calls me Berry. We're in schools. Your last name becomes your first name. So I don't even know who Kiyyannah is, really. But Kiyyannah Brison is my guest today. And so her and I have been on front lines together. I have watched her over many, many years. We have shared young people. We have been in hallways together. We have been in some predicaments together, right? Some highs, some lows in these, in these hallways, streets, etc. Me and Kiyyannah Brison have been on these front lines together, so I have a very clear view of her expertise. And she is a natural. She also is well learned and studied. She's getting these papers and letters and all that, but at the end of the day, like, what you have in your belly matters. And so Kiyyannah Brison is a natural at this thing that we're going to be talking about today, mentoring girls and women. So I needed to put all that out there about who we're talking who we're talking with today, and just know that this is going to be a super good rich conversation. So, again, like, tag, and share for impact. I'm seeing some people hitting up the comments. Thank you. Thank you. Continue to comment and add your contribution to the conversation. Like, tag, and share. And without further ado, let's get this started. Let's get this conversation started. Hello, Miss Kiyyannah Brison.
Hi,
Hello, hello.
Gary.
Hello, hello. And we did say whether we were going to say last name or first name, but like I said, in schools, who's Kiyyannah? I don't know. That's Brison.
Know who Aaliyah is? I've never called you Aaliyah.
So that's fine. Here we are. Here we are. Audience, I kind of always do kind of like a sound check. Like, we're not CNN. So let me know in the comments if sound becomes an issue throughout this episode. Just let us know in the comments. And I'm so happy that you are here. Brison, how are you doing tonight?
Happy to be here. Oh my God, I could not have been more happy to do this tonight with you. This is so important for me to do it with you.
Yes. Yes. So I know you so well. I already gave like my own heartfelt introduction of you, but the rest of the audience does not necessarily know all that you do and like the different settings you've been in because you're not here representing an organization tonight, but you are the office. Okay.
Yes.
That sidewalk is the office. So,
I,
but still to give the audience an idea.
or well, like you said, we worked in a different educational setting before, but I also have experience working in transitional living, family shelters, education, and predominantly the at-risk youth itself, but all of the young people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have
So,
experience with the Mommy and Me program and different organizations that I won't identify yet.
yes, no, absolutely, absolutely. So just so they understand your lens of what you're looking through and like how you answer these questions is based on your experience, right? So you said alternative ed, you said shelters, transitional housing, substance abuse.
Substance abuse, Mommy and Me program, and then I did a lot of work for community health itself, dealing with different social emotional barriers that affect the African American, Black, and Brown community.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then mentoring is through that work, but also outside 9 to 5. Yes.
Yes, mentoring is 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes, and that's probably one of my favorite titles and the most rewarding um, title I've ever had. But yes, it's not 9 to 5. It is not in an office. There's no desk. There's no chair,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not always pretty, right? It is answering your phone at inconvenient hours. It is halting your personal life to put out fires and manage crisis. It is getting in your car and driving to that person and assisting in whatever areas you could.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You said no chair, and that is the truth, Bryson. Sometimes it's standing on a sidewalk. Sometimes it's at a red light, right? Like
Sit in
no
the back of
chair.
the car. It's Dave and Buster's. Like it's wherever you have to be for the moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I just want to even first because even what we've mentioned already so far, right, speaks to the differences of what mentoring looks like around our way versus what it looks like in other communities. So I want to get a little bit deeper into that cuz some people might be like, "What? No chair?" Like what kind of mentoring is that at the bus stop, right? Which we're going to get into and we're going to explain, right? But let's even like start all the way ABC 1, 2, 3. Right? Like let's lay some foundation, right? How do you define mentoring? Like what is
And
that?
so book definition, right? To me, my definition is just choosing to make a difference in someone's life, whether it's a young person, an older adult, anybody. It's just choosing to make a difference, giving your guidance the way you know how, giving your experience, being there for that person on an unconditional level,
Mm,
that non-judgmental level, that sincere level, and just providing what you have. Right? There's no set amount of money you have to have. There's no education level you need to have, right? It is your level of passion that you have, what you have to offer to whatever population you choose to have it with.
mhm, mhm.
So I like that historically marginalized youth, right? I love that population. That's my mentoring services. but I don't come to them as a professional licensed social worker, not yet at least. I don't come to them with, teacher's education or anything like that. I come to them as Kiyyannah Brison, right? And I just give what I have. That's it.
I love that definition. Just giving what we have, and also, like you said, depending on the population. So, like, if I'm
Right.
mentoring third graders, right, then I'm gonna give what I have versus, someone who just came home from prison, for example, doing reentry work, right?
Absolutely.
You're maybe giving
Right.
a different thing, but if that's what you have to give, that's
Correct.
mentoring.
When I'm mentoring in the substance abuse world, and sometimes the people are much older than me, I give what I have for that population. When I'm mentoring 16, 17-year-olds who are way younger than me, I'm giving what I have for that population.
Yeah. And I would think that that would also, because the sidewalk talk is very, I'll just say, like, getting a call to action. Like, we're tired of, like, talking, right? Like, no offense to emails and meetings, but, like, it's time to move, action, action, and not talking, right? So the audience members listening now, like, if you're not already mentoring, that right there is a call to action, which is like figure out a population that you could best serve, because that right there takes assessment, right? Like going in and figuring that out.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely. And again, you don't need to be an expertise in anything. You know what you have, right? We all come to this world developing a set of skills, right? We all have a passion. We all have something we can give to someone else, right? Just take what you have and give it genuinely, and you'll make a difference. You'll make a difference. And sometimes the difference doesn't, it's not tangible.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's not immediate, but it's so worth it and so needed. And it's so needed. There's not a young person who won't thank you, or a person, period, that you won't make a difference for, and they don't come back to you and just say you made a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
You can change someone's life. You get somebody back on course, or you stop them from ever going that course. You make a difference, and it's needed. It's needed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. You see, if y'all not already paying attention with your notebooks out, okay? Bryson is already dropping jewels, okay? Because that whole the harvest comes later. Like we're dropping the seeds now, and you may not see the harvest right away. And we're gonna talk about that a little
Right.
later. Like then I don't see anything happening, and like what you walk away. At what point you we're look. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you're already dropping jewels prices. So
Come on.
let's
Come
keep
on. Bring it.
let's keep
Bring
going.
it.
Let's keep going. So we defined mentoring, giving all you have to a population that you're passionate about. And figuring
Right.
out what population that would be. Pick a lane. That is like Sidewalk Talk's motto. Pick a lane, play your part. Pick a lane, play your part. Okay. So you already talked a little bit about like, oh, at the bus stop, right? And some people may be like, what? Like, first of all, my community may not have a bus stop. So then, this sidewalk talk though, it's from Newark, New Jersey. So we are speaking specifically about the community here. Um, what does mentoring look like in an urban community as compared to other communities? Like help folks understand, and sometimes if we already live here, help us understand that like that thing that you thought maybe was a little extra really is just what it looks like here, and maybe that's not what the textbook says should be happening. Like help us understand and encourage us that already maybe do this work. What does it look like?
Funny. I was talking to someone, and I said my mentee, and they said, "What are you doing with a mentee?" Um, right? And I said, "Well, a mentor. So that's what you do with a mentee." I said, "What is that? What is mentoring?" I said, "Well, in my community, mentoring is not 9 to 5, like we said, right? I'm not meeting you at your school for this hour session, or have these preset topics that we're going to talk about. Um, Mentoring sometimes means I get in my car to my homeless population, and we're having a session in the back seat, right? Mentoring is 2:30 in the morning. There is a crisis, and this person does not know how to figure it out, does not have the answers, and I'm just listening. One, being a venting air. Two, giving them sound, clear advice on how they can help themselves through the situation or whatever like that. So mentoring in my Newark, New Jersey. not everywhere, is a little different, right? Because we have a different population and a different root of the problem. So if the problem is not the same, then the help can't be the same. The resources can't be the same,
Mm, mm,
right?
mm,
So the behavior may be the same, right? They may all be delinquent, or they may all be dropped out of school, or using substance abuse, or single parenting, or dangerous lifestyles. Like those all problems may be the same, but if the root of the problem is different, then the answer has to be different, right? That's why mentoring for one single person it can never be the same. There's no magical ball and there's one size fit all for anyone. That's not how it works in our community, right? Mentee A is way different from Mentee B, and the problems are often caused for different reasons. So I respond to each person differently,
mm,
right? Some mentees require this much of Kiyyannah Brison, and then some mentees require this much of Kiyyannah Brison, and then some mentees don't get Brison at all. They just get on to Kiyyannah.
Yep. Oh.
Okay. Right. And that's just learning your population and then adjusting to what the people need. Flexibility, adjustment,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then just again taking that cap off that it has to look like this,
Mm-hmm.
or it needs to be like this, or you have to sound like that, or you must represent this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so because I would think that, and you kind of mentioned just other communities that, like, for example, I'm not gonna call out any organization names out in other communities, but like there are national mentoring organizations that exist, right? That are
Right.
national, and you can pick up the phone and sign up to be a mentor, right? And it's like 4 hours a month. You go to like the movies, you play basketball, you drop them back off, and I'm not downplaying that, or that type of
It's beautiful.
approach.
No, and sometimes that's needed and helpful too, right? I've done that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I picked up my phone,
Mm-hmm.
donated 4 hours a week, a day. And we do go to extracurricular activities like that. We do have fun time. That is the beauty of it, right? But that's just the front page.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the front page, right? When you get more into the chapters, right? Sometimes there's no time to do the fun stuff because in my north, there's some real stuff happening, right? Some
Right.
real stuff happening. Sometimes my mentees or the people I've mentored too don't have food for their children, right? They just witness someone they love getting murdered,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or family members are dying of illnesses left and right, or they don't have access to basic needs to survive,
Mm-hmm.
right? And as a mentor, I show up when it's good and bad, right? When it's pretty and ugly. I
Mm-hmm.
don't get to be subjective about what I want to mentor about. When I chose to be a mentor, I'm showing up for every and all,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I am at the hospital when you're giving birth.
Yes.
I am making sure you have access to Pampers and formula and healthy foods for the baby and the mom,
Mm-hmm.
right? I am advocating for you on the phone with WIC when they won't release your necessary food items for whatever reason,
Mm-hmm.
right? I
Mm-hmm.
am showing up making it's just a whole bunch of everything, and it's not always the front page. It's not
Right.
always pretty.
Right. And so, to your point, you have to make that effort to read the whole book or the chapters that they will show you, because you don't always get to the ninth chapter. Like, it takes time to get through the book, right? But to your point, if you go and take somebody to the movies, right, when they have just because you read the front cover, that's really doing a disservice. And in this community, that's not what
So
mental.
I'm taking you to the movies, and then afterwards, you don't have anywhere to sleep tonight,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Exactly.
Right? And
Exactly.
sometimes, like I said, like so, if you don't read the chapter through and through, you don't make that effort, you're doing a huge disservice. Because what good is the movies with expensive popcorn, expensive candy, and the lovely slushies that they
Right.
sell if you don't have somewhere to sleep tonight after that's all
Right.
done?
To check a box. Okay. And Sidewalk Talk is about real talk. Now, we don't, go past no lines, but we do have real talk on this platform. And I'm going to say, Aaliyah Berry is going to say, why? Because we want to check a box. Yes, I'm a mentor. Yes, that young person is getting a mentor. But if we're just bringing them to the movies and they don't have anywhere to sleep, and we're looking to check the box and send them back to the park bench, because that's happening. Like, let's be very clear. I'm gonna leave it there, Brison. We ain't gonna get too deep into it, but things happening on a surface level, right? To check boxes and sending young people back to park benches is happening, and Sidewalk Talk is going to say that out loud. Let's not do that, family. Let's not do that. So, moving right along, Bryson. Moving right along. So, yes, definitely. You said the same behavior. So it could be the same behavior from an urban area to a suburban area to the rural area, right? Like the other day, I was telling clients about delinquent behavior in a rural area. From what I heard someone tell me, is that they do cow tipping, where they'll jump over into the farm. Yes, Bryson. But I'm just trying to make this point here, right? They'll jump over the fence into the farm and they'll tip the cows over while the cows are sleeping and they die. Like the cows
Oh
die
no,
when you tip them over while they're
oh,
sleeping.
that's sad.
So like
Sad.
kids will be like, rule breaking and adrenaline and all this other stuff, cow tipping. So to your point, the behaviors may be, they may look different, but they may be the same. But then to your point, there's different roots underneath these behaviors from Newark to Amish country, and therefore
Right.
it requires a different approach. So that's a great segue into how to really like your steps, right? So if someone is a mentor, and Thomas Owens in episode 2 this season said we may need to upgrade our operating system. Yeah, we may have been doing this work 20 years, but maybe the thing you've been doing for 20 years like isn't really working. So we always need to learn new information to upgrade.
That's it.
Exactly.
Sometimes you don't need to whole program. You just need to add something else in it, right? Or
Exactly.
take a little bit out, you know? So it's not that you need to gut it. I think there are some great resources and definitions in there, but is it enough? The
Exactly.
world is changing. The young people are adapting. This new generation, right? Generation Z, or like they're different, right? They're
Yes.
different. The
Yeah.
world is different though, right?
Yeah.
We're more in tune with social and emotional learning. We're more in tune with mental health. Like as all of that comes to light and the world starts to accept these new things, we then need to adjust our policies, rules, and definitions to
Mhm.
everything,
Mhm.
including mentorship.
And so then our approach, right? So like what are the steps when men like how do you go about now you did say it's not one size fits all. Totally agree with that.
Right.
When you are mentoring a person, what are like the steps that you go by? And even if you are a mentor listening, we still may be missing a step. So we want to upgrade and learn too, right? So and if you're not mentoring, this is how you would go about it. So what are like the steps that you go about?
So, like I've never chosen a mentor for some mentee. For some reason, they choose me. Even when I'm like, no, 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 no more, no more. They choose me. Um, One thing is, I think it's really honest is building a rapport. You have to have the relationship or the ability to build a relationship, right? You must be they must be able to feel like they can trust you. So you have to be real, authentic, your genuine self, right? And then you must be understanding. No one wants a mentor that doesn't understand them, can't identify with the struggle, right?
Mhm.
And feels judgmental. I don't want a mentor that's gonna judge me all day. No matter what I tell you, you're gonna just make me feel like I'm being judged.
Mhm.
So when I'm know that this is what I have to do, I'm very compassionate and empathetic, right? I'm loving. I'm always loving because for some people that's the only love they're gonna get that day, right? And then this is the thing I like to do where like I've been a hammer for so long in relationships, like the hardcore. I'm learning how to compassionately hold them accountable at the same time.
Mhm.
Because I need a mentor does not mean I need you to take the accountability piece out of the relationship. That's not what mentoring is. You still need to hold your mentee accountable for any and all actions and responsibilities, but in a loving, compassionate way so that it's received properly.
Absolutely. Because sometimes people think that like because we love on specific like let's just say young people because that like oh they just hug them to death or like especially as females on the front lines like oh they're just coddling them. No, no, I will beat you up with a whole smile. Like let's be clear.
Yes,
Like holding
I ain't
accountable
gonna
is love.
Yeah, but it has to be done
Mhm.
properly, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
when they're in a world that beats them down constantly in the most aggressive ways, strips them down to nothing, the last thing they need is for someone else they trust to come do that to them. That's the last thing they need, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna hold you accountable. And sometimes, like I said, it's not Ms. Bryson, it's Kiyyannah hold you accountable. Either which way, whoever it is, I need them to know that it's done with love. Like at the end of the day, you're still loved, you're still valued. I still see you as a whole human being. And
Mm-hmm.
I still want you to trust me at the end of the day that, we're gonna get through this together.
Right, right. And I think that like the building rapport part starts at the front cover of the book, as you said, and maybe accountability isn't in chapter 1. Like, I'm not necessarily going to hold you accountable in the first 15
Right,
minutes of meeting you, right? Because accountability
right,
does sound like judgment, and you may not know that I'm coming with love yet, right? Although
right,
there's certain things
right.
that come through eyes, but yeah, so it takes time to know when to move in on that accountability piece. Um,
But
so then, yeah.
if you're authentic with that and loving with that, once you start having to hold them accountable, it's received properly. It's received as love, not as anything other.
Mm-hmm.
And again, maybe not received the first time because in a world where people are not used to being held accountable, like using that word and forcing responsibility on me is a pushback, right? But when you develop the rapport and then you have that compassionate, loving, non-judgmental side, they do start to see like, oh, okay, now I get it, or I could have handled things differently, or this person was right, or maybe I did overreact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But you're right about people not being used to accountability. And
Right.
yeah, but it's the approach of holding them accountable. So thank you for bringing that up. So then after you build the relationship and rapport, then what?
So one of the favorite things, but hardest thing to do is goal setting,
Mm.
right? Because what is goal setting?
Mm.
Goals, period, scare people.
Mm.
Don't mention that word.
Mm.
Okay? I was just with a youth the other day and I was like, let's talk about goals. Yeah. No one wants to talk about goal setting, right? So let's talk about goals because if we're mentoring without a goal, if we're going through life without a goal, then we're doing this blindside purposeless,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So let's talk about goal setting. And goals is not your biggest aspiration ever. That's not goal setting. Right? Goals could be something you aspire to do tomorrow, something you want to do next week. Sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
just surviving tonight.
Mm.
That's goal setting, right? So I like to introduce and talk about goal setting, right? And then define goal setting and then like release some tension and anxiety on what setting goals mean. Right. So we do an assessment, right? And again, I don't say an assessment and there's no formal assessment. It's not a piece of paper with me asking you questions. That's not what it is. Goal setting and assessments is just having a conversation, me getting to know you.
Mm-hmm.
You let them talk long enough, you'll be able to identify some goals in there. And then it's just teaching that person that was goals. These are goals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let me just clarify, and I wanted to clarify this earlier, and I'm going to clarify this now as well. Is so like because we say, oh, but I don't use the word assessment, and I'm not actually using like an actual piece of paper, and we're talking about bus stop mentoring and back of seat car mentoring and stuff like that. So I just want to clarify. This is, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but for me, mentoring. In the way that I like my capacity of mentoring is mentoring people, mostly young people, but sometimes they're like 28, but I met them at 18, right? So, but she's still a young person in my mind, right? But like mentoring individuals who I met through agencies, right? And I just want to be clear because I don't want anybody going left because of this conversation in regards to boundaries, right? So, like, having met individuals through agencies, and those agencies allow us to keep in touch with clients,
Yes.
right? Because there are other agencies that I worked for that I was not allowed to keep in touch with clients, and ethically, you then cannot, right? But if
Right.
it's a model, which both of us were a part of, the relationship went outside the building, and that was the
That,
model. So we keep in touch with those clients, and that is permissible with that agency. And so it still requires boundaries, even to be in the back seat of a car, for example, right? Like, and I just want to say that out loud. This whole conversation, we won't get into detail, but I want everyone to know to check on your own ethics, your own boundaries, your own gut feeling. Because there's certain situations that my gut said, don't pull around that corner and go hop out on that young person right now. And then the week
right now.
after, my gut told me I could, so I did. But to be clear, this is a very wide net of support, and it is very abstract and not by textbook, but it does have boundaries and it does have certain like ethical rules still attached to it, right?
Right. So if you're representing an agency, I would say definitely be in compliance with your agency rules and the law. All right,
Yeah.
depending on where you work, right? But I don't want to scare people with that though, right? Because you can mentor your next door neighbor,
Yes. Yes.
right? And then we can take all the ethics out of that, right? You can mentor your little cousin.
Mhm. Mhm.
You
Mhm.
can mentor the little girl you met at the bus stop or the corner store, or somebody you go to school with, or somebody you work with. You can mentor anyone. So if you do not represent an agency, that does not mean you can't be a
Mhm.
mentor,
Mhm.
right? We just discussed that mentorship is not always in an agency.
Mhm.
Right? I don't want that those words and those things to
Mhm.
put flags up for people like, up, mission abort.
Yes.
No, you
Yes.
still can mentor. You can mentor at the corner store. You can mentor a little Bobby down the street. Like you can mentor anywhere, anybody. You're not bound to an agency.
So
So
let
please don't
me
let those words scare you.
totally agree. Thank you for pointing that out. Providers do watch this, so I was thinking through their lens, like don't go rogue because Barry said so. But yes, thank you for bringing that up so much. Let me ask this, and this is not like a planned question that we had, but how do you incorporate? So if you are mentoring neighbor, you are mentoring Bobby down the street that you then connected in the corner store, right? How do you incorporate parents when you're then mentoring community members or even your own family members, but maybe like how do you incorporate the parent into your relationship?
So first is an introduction, right? No matter what. And then
Mm-hmm.
just have that honest conversation like, hey, I just want to be a support system because that's what mentoring is, right? Support. Um, Incorporate the parents in that. Like, maybe parents can help you identify some struggles,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or some behaviors, or even if there's no struggles or no behaviors, maybe this is a popular influence you can give, right? So it doesn't have to like you just have that conversation with the parents, right? If there's no behaviors or side effects or anything, maybe you can just be the influence, and everyone can use a positive influence. Everyone, and that's 10, 16, 25, 55, right? Everybody can use that, and that's how you incorporate the parents, and then just let mom and dad know that this is a relationship where you need to build rapport. So the status on that is as needed,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's no need to report to the parents everything you and your youth
Mm-mm.
talk about,
Mm-mm.
right? It's as needed
Mm-hmm.
because that's one of the missing components here is that I can't always tell my mom and dad
Exactly.
everything, and then I have no one else but mom and dad to talk to. So
Exactly.
where do I go when I need help?
Yes. Exactly. Like that's the whole point of a mentor is I can have conversations with my mentor that I can't have with anyone else. So I totally agree. Being like sometimes a secret keeper is necessary, even as a mentor.
Yes.
But I would say that trying to make it a priority to be connected to whatever adult is in charge of that, especially minors, right? Because now if it is a
Yep.
2:30 in the morning call, right? I have young people that I'll be on the phone, like if it's an emergency, and they could say, I'm on the phone with Miss Berry, and the family knows me, and they leave us to do what we're doing, right? But like the family is aware of my presence, in especially a
Yes.
minor's life,
Right. No, I've had parents call me like,
for help.
where's your sister? Or where's your little brother? Or can you talk to them because this was this problem and I can't get
Yeah,
through to that person? It just made it worse.
yeah,
Maybe we need you. And sometimes the mentor is mediating between the young
exactly.
person and the family member.
Yes,
So like it's like it is important to have that established relationship. But just understanding that the youth is the primary relationship.
yes, yes. That's good, Bryson. That's good. So we're gonna shift a little bit. I might circle back to yeah. So we laid some good mentoring foundation. Today the last episode we focused on boys and men, and so this episode we wanted to focus on girls and women specifically. What do you think? Let's even start like Sidewalk Talk tries to clarify misconceptions, right? So, what do you feel is like a major misconception that our community has about our girls?
Is that they don't want help,
Mm,
right? And any problem that comes to them, they somehow caused it or
mm,
deserved it,
mm,
right?
mm,
Oh, it's such a big misconception. It is one of the ones that make me angry, right? And that's not an emotion I want to display, but that is one of the ones when I hear people ignorantly say that whatever the problem is, she deserved it or she caused it,
mm,
right? Because her actions might not be appropriate, or she might have had some disrespectful tones or behaviors or whatever like that. So whatever consequences come from that, she somehow caused it or deserved it.
mm,
Like those one of the ones that really hit deep rooted for me because that's just not the case. It's not the case. Oftentimes we see behaviors and we look at the person on the outside and say there's no reason for them to behave that way.
mm,
There's no reason for them to act that way,
mhm,
right?
mm.
Or, you're a mother, so you should know that or whatever like that, right? It's just not always that simple. And for those of you who it is, congratulations. We are proud for you, right? But everybody life doesn't come to them that way. Everybody life doesn't come to that way. So when you're mentoring and you have this person who have layers of trauma, right? Or parental issues, environmental damage,
Mm,
they're
mhm,
responding to how the world treats them. Not that they deserved it. They're responding to how the world treats them, right? So it's not that she's mean and angry and unapproachable. She's giving the world back what the world gave her. It's not that she's just a fighter and she likes to hit people. She's giving the world back what was given to her.
mm. Bryson,
And
Bryson.
I need that to be cleared up,
Yeah.
right? Most times it's a defense mechanism. It's the cage. It's the wall, right? I'm going to treat everyone like this so no one's close enough to do those behaviors back to me ever again.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. So, so then, like, how does so with that in mind about what our girls are experiencing, like from our community and how they're feeling. Like one of our audience members, Najee, said, "We're so misunderstood." Right? We're so misunderstood. And then what I'm giving out is really not understood because there's so many layers, like you said, of trauma that's much more that is complicated, but also way more complicated on the inside of a girl and a woman. So like
Right?
then with that in mind, like how does mentoring girls differ from mentoring boys?
Well, for one, and this is my experience, it doesn't have to be true, but anytime I've had to mentor a male, it was almost forced, right? The school regulated this relationship, the courts are regulating this relationship.
Mm,
And when I get with my young sisters, it's almost like they're begging, you're dying, like they're banging on the door, help me, help me, help me, help me,
mm,
help me. So for one, it's like just that stigma, right? Like boys are usually mandated or forced into receiving help, and then the girls are kind of just like, I don't, I didn't know I needed it, and I didn't know this service exists, right? Because they put those technical names on it, and
mm,
titles on it.
mm-hmm,
But
mm,
I want the relationship. I just don't want the title, right? I don't want the title on it, but I want that relationship
mm-hmm,
or whatever like that. And
mm-hmm,
then the other aspect for me has like the issues, right? For the males, it's always been like money motivated, right?
mm-hmm,
Like I gotta get money. I don't have time for this. I gotta get money. Like me being here with you don't make me money. This does not make me money. If you don't got so and so X amount of dollars for me, I gotta go,
mm-hmm,
right? And if you're not talking about how I can get money, I gotta go. And the young ladies is just like everything but money, right? Everything but money. Is kind of motivating the relationship, right? And I don't know if it's because I'm a woman that's different for me, right? So I can't speak on the male role models, the male, because there are some things that men are going to go through, especially our African American men, that only other African men can understand,
mm-hmm,
right? And although I'm a mother of an African American male, I do not have those similarities in upbringings like them. And but when it comes to the females, absolutely, there are certain things we go through as sisters that is unique to just only us.
mm-hmm,
And I think I could identify with that, and that's what makes it a little different for me.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So then, right, when um so the approach is like, is that three-step approach that you said earlier about like building rapport, goal setting, and then like assessment, is that the three-step process for male and females? You just go about it a little bit differently?
Yes, but so those three-step process has to be the same because ultimately, whether it's a male or female, if during the assessment, right, I am not fit, I then need to find someone who is, right? You don't just leave them out there. You don't hang them back up in like a coat in a closet and just say, I'll wear you next season or
Mm,
whatever like that, right? So I figure out in the assessment that these problems are way deeper than I'm equipped to handle, or sometimes it's a double hitter. It's me because I have the relationship and the rapport already, but then as somebody who has the expertise in this area and we're tag teaming together or whatever like that. So those that process doesn't change either which way.
mm-hmm,
Because um you don't want to do more harm than good, and not doing the assessment, there's definitely room to do a lot of harm.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Definitely, definitely. So then, when we talk about, the girls, a big thing that like I have definitely leaned on you over the years, is in regards to like mentoring mothers, and so like either
Yeah.
young girls or women, grown women, but that have children. Would you say there is a different approach to mentoring needs? Like, talk to us about those nuances that are different with mothers.
So the difference between mothers, differences between mothers are, because there's so many differences, is one, most mothers don't recognize that they can put themselves first and get them into it. They're always in mommy mode, right? Everything is surrounded by mothering, children, parenting, right?
Mm,
So I don't have time for this, right? Because society has taught mothers, especially young unwed mothers,
mm,
that you need to just concentrate on being a mother. That is the only title you have. That is all you're ever going to be, and that's all you could be,
mm,
right? And just focus on that. Because if anything goes wrong in raising a child, which everything always goes wrong, right? Something goes wrong, it's your fault. And somehow you did something wrong over negligence somewhere,
mm,
and again, it's still your fault as the mother,
mm,
right? So one is just educating them on wait. Before you were a mother, you were a woman,
mhm,
right? Or a female, right? And that's something no one can ever take away from you. So you're going to do a dual role with dual titles. You're going to be who you are and a mother.
mhm,
And then that's the whole goal right there. And it takes a lot of work sometimes because it's easier said than done, right? In a world with single mothering so demanding, how do I make time to do anything else? I can't even get my hair done,
mm,
right? My nails haven't been done in months. How do I then take time to get a mentor when motherhood is commanding so much of my life,
mhm, mhm, mm,
right? Yeah, so the approach for mothers is a whole lot different because we first just needed to separate the relationships, right? I'm not here to mentor just the mom. I'm here to mentor you as an individual and let you know that you are still an individual. You still are a human, right? And as a human, you have needs. You have emotional needs, spiritual needs. And without addressing those, right, you're not doing your child any services either, right? If you can't take the time to address your mental health as a mother, because we're not going to even talk about postpartum depression, right? Um, but if you can't take the time, then you're really doing your child a disservice because what kind of mom, what great mom could you be if you're suffering so much,
mm,
right? And whether we know it or not, it does reflect in your parenting style. It does.
mhm, mhm. Absolutely. So then, you mentioned mental health is a piece that comes up in mentoring mothers. You mentioned
Yes.
postpartum. Um, you know, um, like even earlier, you mentioned like WIC and housing and like the things that all go in. It's much more like exasperated with mothers
Yes.
of
Yes.
children, the relationship with the child's father, and then what you said just about like, well, it must be her fault, right? Like
Of course.
whatever the situation is, just society and the community like blaming her for whatever the
Yes.
situation is. um yeah, that's
So
deep.
think about it. Think about being a young, impressionable mother, first time mom, right? And the whole world is literally against you, right? The social service agencies look down on you. Your family look down on you, society look down on you, your neighbor look down on you. Internally, even for the most strongest mindset, internally, those start to eat at you. You start to even feel less worthy. Your self-worth declines because you start to believe this mumbo jumbo. It's like when in a world where everyone beats up on you,
Mhm.
right? You then don't have the strength to fight back. You
Mhm.
don't have the strength to fight back. You can't take on the whole system, right? You start to drown even more. You were already lost, right? But now you're drowning because everyone is attacking you.
Mhm.
Everyone is attacking you. And like no one is like, like no matter how great of a mom you're being, the words are like, but you had a baby. It was your choice. You chose to do
Mm.
this.
Mm. Just no grace and no seeking to understand the layers.
No help.
Yeah.
No help. So I always have this thing, right? The time it took you to give a negative compliment is a negative comment is the same time it could have taken you to give a positive one. Or the same energy it would have taken to offer how you can help.
Mhm.
The same energy. It's the
Right.
same energy in the same time. So before you look down on someone, single mom or not, right? It takes the same energy to give something positive to that person. It
Well,
really
and
does.
yeah,
And like,
yeah, and seek to understand. Because if you did seek to read the whole book and not just look at the cover of the book, then you would know all the layers and the awesome things that she is doing and moving and shaking and feeling and healing and all this amazing work that's happening in the book. But like we're being super judgmental off the cover of the book.
super judgmental, super
Yeah, so like
judgmental,
seek to
super judgmental.
understand. Seek to understand. So
That empathy, right? It's that
yeah.
empathy word that. So she doesn't need your sympathy. She doesn't need you to feel sad for
No.
her.
Right,
No,
right.
no, she don't need that. She can't use that,
Mm,
right? What she needs is some empathy from you. Can
mm,
you understand? Can you feel what she could just a taste of what she could possibly be going through right now,
right,
right?
right.
It's so I could break it down for you. It's so hard, just what I've dealt with, particularly like in the last year, like this pandemic and mentoring, right? The empathy is through the roof because
Mm,
you feel for so many moms and parents, period. Right? So imagine a world where you do have WIC. WIC have granted you all these WIC checks, right? Because it's pandemic, so they're not really requiring all the things they used to require, right? You have no transportation,
mhm, mhm,
right?
mhm.
And when you do muster enough to catch 4 buses to go pick up your WIC checks, and then how do I get to the supermarket to cash the WIC checks in, right? With this infant,
Right.
and then a 3-year-old, and a 7-year-old,
Mhm.
right? And then when I do find some way to get to the supermarket, how am I getting all this stuff home with 3 babies, right? So the last thing and then when I accomplish all of that, which probably took me a whole 2 weeks to muster together, the last thing I need you to do is stare at me in a grocery store and judge me.
Mm, mm,
That's the last thing from you,
mhm,
right?
mm,
That's the last thing I need from you. You
mhm.
could offer to help me with my bags, right? You could offer to pray over me,
Yeah.
right? Because it would take the same energy. It would take the same energy in the same time, right? Those are free, right? Hey, I've been at giving out food and helping the homeless, and they're providing a whole lot of cereal, but they don't give the milk. Mom, can I buy you a gallon of milk with that? I understand you got 5 kids at home. They gave you 10 boxes of cereal, but what cereal without milk? Can I like what energy did that change for me? Like what did that change for me? A gallon of milk is $4. So rather than judge her and say, "Oh, she got 5 kids and she's sitting in the a line waiting for free food," rather than judge her that way, right? I just can imagine the strength she got to even get up with 5 kids and come stand on this line for food. You know what? You look like you're having a hard day, and you probably let me just get you a gallon of milk with that.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
The same energy, the same time, the same energy time.
So in the pre-meeting, right, we did talk about what we call, what you and I call clinically countertransference.
Right.
Um, yeah. So like again, providers do watch Sidewalk Talk too, but if we don't know what countertransference is, it's seeing ourselves or our clients or whoever we're serving reminding us of other people or ourselves, things like that. So it came up in our pre-meeting, and like to what extent do you have to like keep an eye on that?
Every day, all day, every situation. Right. There is literally a pre-conversation I have with myself. Right. You're removing yourself out of this. This is not about you. right? This is a service, and in order to serve 100% and wholly, you need to remove yourself out of this, right? This is not you. This is not your situation, right? You are here to help. And if I don't do those pre games beforehand, it is very much easy to wrap those two around, right? Because a black girl from North New Jersey, born and raised, it is very easy to see myself in so many people that I do mentor or have come across in the education system or substance abuse system. Like, and I'm always saying, like, you, you are a prayer away from many of those people, you know? Or you have very similarities like those people, or that person smells like the person you went to school with, or that person is mean like the person
Mm.
like whatever it is. So if I don't have those conversations with myself often, like that, I could very well be confusing the two, which is very harmful to the relationship. Very
Mhm.
harmful.
Mhm. Mhm. So we're kind of wrapping up on time, right, Bryson? So on Sidewalk Talk, we always need calls to action. Calls to action. So you have done a fantastic job just like unpacking truths that are not often being discussed, kind of unpacking these conversations because they have a lot of nuance to it. Like it's not black and white, it's not concrete, simple, one way or the other. Like there's a lot of, nuance to this. So what would you say are your three marching orders? Give us our marching orders.
My marching order is to do it. That's my first one, right? Get up and do it. Find like I said, my mentors find me. My mentees find me. I don't find them. Someone has needed you. And will continue to need you. There's always something you can do. There's always a gallon of milk you can buy or whatever like that, right? Get up and do. No excuses. Just get up and do. That's my first call to action. Get up and do.
That's
And if you're not the person who could mentor, right? Because everybody, it's not in everybody, right? Find other ways you can help. So I'm not the person who can do the sidewalk in the 2 o'clock in the morning, right? But can you be responsible for making sure this young person gets to school every day, or help them with their homework, a couple of times a week, and stuff like that? Those are all calls to action. Those are participate in some way, somehow, whatever way you can, right? Just sitting by is no longer an option. I'm
mm-hmm.
asking everyone to stop sitting by.
Mm-hmm. To do, to do.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Although
Okay.
it's like getting delayed.
So that's what
So
I'm asking first.
okay. So it's I don't know.
It
It's
is.
a little
It is.
delayed.
Yes, I'm noticing that.
You can see the delay on your side.
Yes, but
Okay.
not on the Facebook Live. On the Facebook Live, it's
Okay.
great.
Well, those are two important calls of action anyway, though. To do, to step up to action, do what we need to do, and like everybody just play their part and do their lane. Um, yeah. And then to seek to understand and not being so judgmental is like a huge thread that has gone throughout this whole conversation.
So that'll be my third one, right? Read the whole chapter. Don't read
Yes.
the cover in the
Yes.
back of the book.
Yes.
Read the whole chapter.
Yes.
Read the whole chapter. Because if you pick a population and you learn that population is so much more deep rooted, and it'll definitely increase your empathy for that population or that group of young people, or just whatever, or for the neighbor, right? Read the whole chapter. Invest some time in educating yourself about it.
Right.
Once you do that, or you work with that population, you then get to understand more, and then maybe you'll be willing to help more when you understand more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we appreciate you, Bryson. I
Excuse me.
let
Are you
all my
laughing?
guests know that like you are appreciated. Your love in this community is appreciated. This village would not be the same without you. You are an asset to this village, and so you are appreciated. And so I appreciate this time and this conversation, and this topic could not have gone forth without you. You all heard her call of action. I hope you all were taking notes. And so we're going to wrap up this conversation. But thank you, Bryson. Thank you. We honor and respect you and continue serving on these front lines. All right, everybody, have a good night, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.